Awesome. We are live. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a good lunchtime. I hope you had a very nice Easter, even in quarantine. I hope you had a very nice Easter, an opportunity to speak with family, friends, and eat good food, of course. My Easter was very good. I cooked a traditional English roast, actually. My first time ever cooking one myself. Usually my parents did it in the past, but it's the first time I have done it. I'm just going to say hi in the chat. I'm writing that as well in the chat. And tell us where you're from. Where you are. Perfect. So yeah, I cooked a traditional English roast. So I had roast chicken, roast potatoes, carrots, cauliflower, beans. It was all very, very good. By beans, I mean the long green beans, not baked beans. But yeah, green beans, very, very good. And then, of course, lots of chocolate as well, some Easter eggs. And then to finish for dessert, I had the traditional Italian colomba, which was very, very nice. I really enjoyed that. But I do prefer at Christmas having the, what do you call it? The panettone. I do prefer panettone to colomba. Cool, we got people saying hi already. So hi Elvira from Rome and hi Pia from Naples. Good to see you guys. I've not met you guys before, I don't think, but good to meet you. Let me introduce myself. I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is David. I'm from London in England, South London specifically. But now I live in Milan. I've lived here for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And yeah, I teach at the Milano Montenero School in the south part of Milan. Yeah, that's me. That's me. So good to meet you guys. And welcome to the webinar, History of Food. I was just starting by telling you guys what I ate for Easter. So you guys, write in the chat, what did you eat for Easter and what is typical from your region to eat at Easter? It's always good to find out about people's foods. I love finding out about traditional foods from different places. When I went traveling a few years ago, I went all around Europe in 1 month, and everywhere I went, I ate traditional food. You know, just to really experience a place, understand the different things that are on offer, see the culture at every level, not just architecture or history, but also the food is always a very nice part to explore. But cool. So to get started on today, in the history of food, in this activity, we have a food quiz, passives, and we're going to be talking about famous food origins. We'll start with pasta on the food origins, which is very famous, of course, for Italy. But also, I think we'll be talking about some other things like ice cream, burgers, things like that. All of it in the passive, of course. Cool. But before we start, guys, I want to ask you a question. There's 2 answers to this question. When do we use the passives in English? When do we use the passives? There's 2 possible answers, and if you can give me an example of each, it would be awesome. But when do we use the passives? Pia, Elvira, you can tell me. Or anyone else watching, there's a few people watching. When do we use the passives? Because we use them quite often, more than we think. More than we think. But what can you tell me? Perfect, Elvira, yes. Yes, the first is when we're not sure of the subject. Maybe we don't know the subject or we're not sure of the subject. And of course, when the subject is not important, exactly the two perfect reasons that we use our passives. We're not sure of the subject or the subject is not important. We're focused on the original object. Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks for that. So here then, we have a quiz to start. A quiz. Are you a foodie? Take this short quiz about food. Test your knowledge of the history of some famous dishes. So, ice cream was invented in China, Germany, or Mexico? What do you think? Pia, Elvira, or some of the others? What do you think? China was invented in China, Germany, or Mexico? Ah, perfect. Alex, welcome. Student of MyES Modena. Nice. Good to see you. Welcome. Welcome. Just asking the first question there. Was ice cream invented in China, Germany, or Mexico? What do you think? Often students tell me that ice cream was invented in Italy, but apparently not. Cool. Pia says China. Elvira says Mexico, question mark. Perfect, so not very sure about that one. Cool, China, Mexico. Couple of answers then. The English muffin was first baked in the USA, France, or England? The USA, France, or England? Should be quite an easy one, this one. No, because it's an English muffin, right? So, what is it? England, England, France, or America? What do we reckon, guys? Okay, Alex says China, but I thought in Italy. Cool. For the ice cream, I believe that is saying China. Pia, we're still on question 2. The English muffin, where was it first baked? The US, France, or England? But you've got answer for number 3, purple. Interesting, carrots when they were first grown. So number 1, we've got 2 answers for China, 1 for Mexico. But what do we think about the English muffin? English muffin. England from Elvira. Seems quite simple. English muffin. Let's go with England. Oh, everyone's got a different answer there. We've got the US, we've got England, and we've got France. Cool. So we're going to find the answers to these questions after we've finished our quiz. So number 3, Pia says already that purple. When carrots were first grown, they were purple. But our other choices are either orange or green. Orange or green? What do we think? Orange, purple, or green? Cool, so we've got 2 votes for purple. Let's go with purple then. So at the moment we're saying China, a mix of answers for 2, and then purple for the carrots. Chocolate was first made by Belgians, Italians, or Aztecs. Belgians, Italians, or Aztecs. So the Belgians are very, very famous for their chocolate. Italian is very famous, very, very famous. Colivera says orange for number 3. 4 is C, Aztecs. Cool. Cool. Pia says Belgium. Cool. So let's go for Aztecs altogether on that one because Alex said Aztecs as well as Elvira. And then final one, number 5, French fries were created in Belgium, France, or England. Pia says England. Elvira says Belgium. I mean, they're called French fries. No. So like the English muffin should be easy, right? Right? Pia says England, and Vida says Belgium. How about you, Alex? Or anyone else watching, you can join in the quiz. Come on. Alex says France. So we've got a mixed answer for number 2 and number 5. But awesome. Let's find out then. Here are our answers. Number 1, correct answer A. Ice cream was invented in China. It was made by mixing rice and milk to create syrup that was then frozen. Interesting. Rice and milk that made a syrup that was then frozen. So yeah, China. Definitely China, considering the rice. Cool. 2, correct answer. The English muffin was actually baked in the US before it was brought to England. Yeah, understandable mistake here in thinking that the UK or England was the answer because the name is an English muffin. But actually, they're not very popular in England. We don't eat English muffins very often. I've seen them often in America when I visited America for holiday, but I don't usually eat them back home. Number 3, purple. Carrots were originally purple. The orange carrot was cultivated because it tasted much better than the purple variety. English muffins are better than crumpets. Oh, I'd have to disagree with that one there. Definitely. Pearl is American, so I can understand why she thinks that English muffins are better, but actually crumpets are much better, in my opinion, because I'm English. But crumpets and English muffins are kind of similar. You eat them similarly. You put butter on them and you put them in the toaster. But yeah. Cool. Next one was chocolate was originally made as a drink by Aztecs and Mayans from South America. Cool. So it's actually Aztecs that made the chocolate. Chocolate was made by Aztecs. Interesting. And I understand that it used to be very, very valuable, like gold in the past, which is why I think it's now so popular across the world. And final one, French fries were created in Belgium and then made their way to France. So actually they've made their way all over the world, but cool. Mostly correct answers there. We got China correct, purple correct for the carrots, Aztecs was correct. And then 2 and 5, we couldn't really agree on an answer, but perfect. Perfect. Cool. So here, a staple food. Pasta is eaten all over the world, but where was it first eaten? When most people think of pasta, it's immediately associated with Italy, but some would argue that pasta was in fact brought to Italy by Marco Polo in 1295, when he returned from China. Before that, it had been eaten by the Chinese as early as 3000 BC. But what the Chinese had created were actually rice noodles. They were similar to pasta, but were made using rice flour instead of wheat. Another popular theory is that pasta was introduced after Sicily had been invaded by Arabs in the 9th century AD. Wherever it came from, pasta has become a staple on tables around the world. Perfect. Cool. So guys, if you ever have questions about any language or anything, write it in the chat, let me know, and we can talk about it. But I have a question here for you guys. What does staple food mean? Staple food. It's in the title there, a staple food. Maybe Pearl knows with her knowledge of English muffins. Perfect. So Alex, that's the question. What's the meaning of staple? What does staple mean? Elvira, you're exactly correct. Yeah, principal food, a staple food. It's something that is fundamental to most cultures and countries and people around the world. A staple food, it's very, very important. It's principle. And a staple outside the context of food is the piece of metal you use to put pieces of paper together. The little curves over, you put two pieces together, sort of like a pincer. Perfect. Staple food. Awesome. So pasta, obviously, a very, very important food all over the world. And here we're talking about where it was first eaten. So in this text, find the passives in the paragraph. What tense are they and why are they passive? So find the passives. What tense are they and why are they passive? So remember, we have our two reasons on why we use passives. You've got the original subject is not important, or we don't know the original subject. So we replace it with our object. Tell me. Perfect. Thank you, Elvira. First one was eaten. Where are we? Alex, perfect, is eaten. Elvira was eaten. Was it first eaten? As a question there for our past simple. Was brought. Pasta, okay, perfect. Pasta was brought by Marco Polo. Pia, awesome, was brought. We've got another one before that as well, actually. So will it do 1 to 1? Perfect. Is eaten, number 1. Was it first eaten? As a question. Was it first eaten? As a question. Perfect. Is associated, Alex. Good job for not missing that one. And then yes, Pia and Elvira spotted was in fact brought. Perfect. Elvira had been eaten for the past perfect. Past perfect, very important for narrative tenses. Wonderful. Had been eaten, is eaten, present. We've got another one after that. Had been eaten. Thank you, Elvira, for putting in the tense as well for present, past, past perfect. Cool, perfect. Were made is the next one. Were made. Alex, attention, had created, that's active. The Chinese had created rice noodles. That's a past perfect. It's active. Was introduced, awesome. Had been invaded, thank you, Pia. And that's it. Perfect. That's all of them. But why are they passive? Why are they passive, these phrases? Is it because we don't know or we're not interested? Perfect. Was introduced, had been invaded. Perfect. But why are they passive? For our two reasons. Why are they passive? Not interested or not known, the original subject. We don't know, but we do. We do know. It says here by Marco Polo, 1945, he returned from China. So the Chinese invented them. But I guess there is the question, after Sicily had been invaded by Arabs, there is a question. But yeah, so it's a bit of unknown and a bit of A bit of both, I guess. We don't know the original subject because it could be China, it could be the invasion of the Arabs in the 9th century, but we're focused on pasta. I think that's the main reason this is in passive. Our focus is the pasta. So now we started with a quiz and we can continue our quiz as a memory test. What can you remember about the history of pasta? Use the prompts to form questions and then we can ask each other to answer these questions. So, which country associated pasta? What food created the Chinese? 3000 BC. Where pasta created? Which part of Italy invaded Arabs? 9th century AD. Where pasta eaten today? Perfect. So first we need to create questions using these prompts. We need to create questions using these prompts. Perfect. Thank you, Pia. Straight in there. Which country is often associated with pasta? Perfect. Awesome use of the preposition as well. Which country is often associated with pasta? Cool. And the answer, perfect, Elvira, pasta is associated, by Italy? Is associated by Italy? What food was created by Chinese in 3000 BC? Perfect. Perfect. Where was pasta created? By the Chinese. Cool. So Elvira, careful there. Associated with pasta is to connect the two things. So you have pasta. What goes with pasta? Italy. So you associate the two. But to say it was created or made or produced or invented, you're correct. The Chinese invented pasta. The Italians sort of changed the recipe, updated the recipe. Perfect. Cool. Back to these questions. Which part of Italy was invaded by Arabs in the 9th century AD? Awesome. And final one, Pia, where is pasta eaten today? Perfect. Cool. Good job, Alex. Where was pasta created? Awesome. So tell me, guys, what auxiliary verb is used in passives? What auxiliary verb is used? Oh, typo in there. What auxiliary verb is used in passives? Because there is only one auxiliary verb that we use, always, always. In Italy, I believe you can change it a little bit. But no, in the UK, or in English at least, we can only use one auxiliary verb. And perfect, Alex. Yes, to be. To be. So we can change our tense. We can have past simple, present simple, past perfect, present perfect, and they include have, but we must have the verb to be to have the passive. Perfect. Perfect. Because our structure of the passive tense is subject, be, and our past participle. Yeah. Subject, be, past participle. And it's the verb to be that we use to change whether it is present, past, etc. Awesome. Awesome. Here then. Use passives to retell the story of a famous dish to the group. So in this, I want to talk about the tenses first and when we use them before we start creating them in the passive, because we've got different tenses here: present simple, present perfect, past simple, and past perfect. Now, of course, we can upgrade if we like from these ones and use also continuous. But for first, let's keep it simple with these ones. So present simple would be I am, etc. for present simple passive. And we use that for things that are always true. Yeah, nice and simple. The present simple, I am, things that are always true, just like pasta is eaten all over the world. I think that is the example they've used here. Different one. Pasta is dried to keep it fresh. Pasta is dried to keep it fresh. And that's things that are always true. Always, always, always. Yesterday, you dry pasta to keep it fresh. Today, you dry pasta to keep it fresh. And tomorrow, you will dry pasta to keep it fresh. Perfect. Pasta is dried. But the present perfect, simple. When do we use the present perfect? Perfect. Yes, Alvaro, you're perfectly right. I don't know when pizza was first invented or created for the first time, but yeah, now it is all over the world. Of course, it's a world famous dish, and it's my favorite. Actually, it's my favorite, of course, of course. So you could tell us about pizza when we start writing in the passive. You could tell us some passive, because you can Google. Don't worry about researching now, but you can search now. You can Google the history of pizza to put into the passive in English for us. But my question is, guys, when do we use the present perfect? When do we use the present perfect? Cool. Just waiting for your answers to come through. I'm sure you know. I'm sure you know about the present perfect. There's a couple of reasons we can use it. Perfect, Alvaro. Yes, one reason is experience, a life experience. So in a life experience for the present perfect, what could you say? You could say, I have been to London, the best city in the world. Perfect. It's an experience. And in the present perfect, for an experience, we don't use a time phrase. We don't use a time phrase. That is my example there. I have been to London. I have been to London. Yeah, it's a present perfect experience. But there's another reason that we use the present perfect. This usually has a time phrase connected to it. Another reason for the present perfect. Cool. So the other reason to use the present perfect, exactly, Elvira, you're perfect, when the time hasn't completely passed. And so it's a present time phrase. For example, today, you could say, I have been to the supermarket today. Yeah. So it attaches to the present past activity. I went this morning, finished time frame. Present time frame or time phrase today is not completely past. Perfect. Perfect. Cool. And so in the passive, can you give me an example of a sentence in the present perfect passive using it has been or the pasta has been? You can invent a sentence, not testing your history at the moment. It's really hot today. The sun is really shining, especially because it's lunchtime. I'm just going to open the window. But yeah, give me an example of the present perfect passive. Because in there we do need to use the verb be, but also the verb have, because it's present perfect. Putting all of our structures together. I'm so happy that the sun is getting hot now. The weather's becoming really nice. It makes staying inside a bit more difficult, but a bit easier because it feels much more positive. But hey, quarantine's going to last a bit longer. Fingers crossed this air conditioning behind me is working for when it becomes very, very hot. Just waiting for an example of the present perfect passive from you guys. Elvira, your answer was absolutely perfect. It's a bit difficult for me to understand different tense. Okay, so we can get into this a bit more clear here. Pasta has been spread all over the world. So it's present perfect because it's got has. It's present perfect passive because it's has been spread. We've got two past participles in there. Has been spread. We've got the verb to be, making it passive, and the verb has or have to make it present perfect. So maybe to make this clearer, we can put it in active and in passive. So you could say, I have eaten a pizza today. I have eaten a pizza today. That's the time hasn't completely passed. It's not life experience, but the time frame has connected it to the present. This is our present perfect active. Present perfect active. And to make this a passive, we need to remove the original subject and put pizza at the beginning of our sentence to make it the new subject. So we'd say pizza has been eaten today, or by me today. Pizza has been eaten by me today. Here we're focused on the pizza. The pizza is the most important part of the sentence, so that becomes our subject. The pizza has been eaten, and the pizza is passive. It's not, doesn't do anything in the sentence or in the situation. I am active. I eat the pizza. Cool. I hope that's made it clearer for you, Alex. Past simple. Past simple then. This should clear the difference between present perfect and past simple. When do we use the past simple? When do we use the past simple? If the present perfect is used for an experience, or when the time isn't completely passed, when do we use past simple? The unfortunate thing about the weather getting better is my allergies are starting to arrive, and that's really not good. Really not good. So the past simple is obviously completed actions with a closed time frame or time phrase. Perfect, Alvaro. Yes, pasta was created by the Chinese in 3000 BC. BC, careful on that one. But yeah. Pasta was not created in China. Why is that negative? Pasta was created in China. Or a version of pasta. Maybe they're saying because the rice noodles. Cool, I'm glad I'm not alone with the allergies problem, Alex. Thank you. It's terrible. It's terrible. People look at me funny when I go to the supermarket and I sneeze. But perfect, that is our past simple passive. Now for the past perfect. When do we use the past perfect? At the moment, I'm not interested in the passive, only past perfect in general. Active or passive. Alvaro, don't know. Cool, I like your honesty. Your honesty on that one is good. It's always an opportunity to learn. So the past perfect is for a action that happened before our past simple. An action that happened before our past simple. So pasta had been eaten in Italy before Marco Polo returned from China. I think my understanding here of history is completely wrong. But hey. Oh yeah, because it was invented in Sicily. Perfect. But past perfect is before another point in the past. So if we look at this chronologically, we've got pasta, start here, sorry, in the past. Pasta is being eaten in Italy from 9th century AD after the invasion of the Arabs. And then in 1295, Marco Polo returns from China. So Marco Polo returns. Pasta had already been eaten. Happened before. Pasta had been eaten before Marco returned from China. Cool. Cool. I hope that's quite clear. If you have any other questions, of course, ask. But just remember that when we use these tenses in the passive, there is always the verb to be. Pasta is present perfect. Pasta has been past simple. Pasta was. And then past perfect. Pasta had been eaten. Cool. So now, you guys can take the opportunity to create some passive sentences using this one. Using some situations that we have given you on here. So I said we were talking about other foods today as well. You've got a choice. We can do burgers. We can do ice cream. We can do French fries. So the three, or chocolate. So the four that we were talking about before: chocolate from the Aztecs, French fries from the Belgians, ice cream from the Chinese, or hamburgers from, also from the Chinese, from Genghis Khan. Cool. Or Asian, at least. Cool. So Alex, Pia, Elvira, tell me, what would you rather do? Hamburgers, ice cream, French fries, or chocolate? Hamburgers, ice cream, French fries, or chocolate? And then we can look at these in more detail. In more detail. I've just had my lunch today. I had quite a light lunch. I had some salad, a tuna salad, because it's very hot today. So keep it fresh. Cool. Alex first in there with hamburgers. Perfect. So let's do hamburgers. It's lunchtime. It is definitely lunchtime. So using the opportunity to talk about these is perfect. Let's go then. So I'll read this for you guys, and then we can create some sentences in the passive. And I want you to try and use past simple, present simple, present perfect, or past perfect, or any other passive tenses you can think of. So continuous, or maybe future if you want to make a prediction about the future. So in 1121, Genghis Khan's armies tenderized meat by putting it under the saddles of their horses. The saddle is the seat that you use on a horse. 1238, Genghis's grandson Kubilai invades Russia. The Russians adopt the ground meat into their cuisine and add chopped onions and raw eggs. They call it steak tartare. Very nice. I love steak tartare. 1600, ships from the German port of Hamburg begin trading with Russia. Sailors bring back steak tartare to Germany. The Germans use fresh meat to make patties instead of salted meat, which the Russians have used. 1800s, German sailors bring the popular dish to America. Cooks sell it in the port and call it Hamburg steak. Eventually, the steak becomes popular among the poor classes in America. They add breadcrumbs and onions to stretch the meat. So to stretch something, like clothes, to stretch something, is to make it bigger, to make it, yeah. So it's like you have more if you put breadcrumbs and onions, so it can last longer, feed more people. 1900s, restaurants add hamburgers to their menus. Originally, they cost about 20 cents. And then today, what can you tell us about hamburgers today? Cool. Elvira has said chocolate was invented in 1400 BC by the Mayans. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, perfect example of the past simple passive there for the chocolate. Anything you guys can tell me about the hamburgers in past passive tenses, or even present, because they've got present in there as well? So remember, we need to restructure our sentence. Genghis Khan's armies tenderized meat. Just swap that around. It had been arrived in Europe after the Spanish conquered Aztecs. Cool. That's the chocolate again, I believe. But careful there. Arrived is a very active verb. To arrive is very active, like I arrive. But to make that a passive, it had been brought to Europe. It had been brought to Europe. but good use of the present past perfect passive. A new tense for you, Elvira. Very good. It had been brought to Europe. It was very popular in Europe. Perfect. Of course, chocolate and hamburgers, both. Awesome. Alex, anything you can tell us about Genghis Khan and bringing the hamburgers across the world? Because that's a real journey from China to Russia to Germany to America. Perfect. A very old version of hamburgers was, we'd keep it the simple there, was invented. Sorry, it's simple. Singular. Keep it singular. A old version, so that's singular, was invented by Genghis Khan. Perfect. The Russians adopt the ground meat. The Russians adopt the ground meat. Can we put that into passive? So we've got meat as our object. Move that into our subject. The ground meat was adopted by the Russians. The ground meat was adopted by the Russians. And they added onions. They added onions and raw eggs to make steak tartare. Cool. Any other tenses that we can use in there? Maybe you can tell us what happens now with hamburgers or a prediction for the future. Think about cheese, bacon, McDonald's, places, ingredients. Solid chocolate was created by Joseph Fry. Elvira, perfect. Perfect. Still on the chocolate one down here. We can have a look at that, of course. Perfect. Joseph Fry creates solid chocolate by mixing chocolate. Perfect. So solid chocolate was created by Joseph Fry. Perfect. Perfect. We've got chocolate becomes popular over Europe. World powers use slave labor to produce chocolate. Wow. It's a dark history to chocolate. Onions and raw eggs were added to the hamburger. Perfect. Perfect, Alex. Awesome. Awesome. Can we use a present perfect, perhaps? Present perfect for either burgers or chocolate. A present perfect, something that happened in the past and is still true today. What do you think? What do you think? You could say here, a Dutch chemist creates a machine to remove cacao butter from chocolate liqueur. This makes chocolate cheaper to produce. That's still present today. So this has made chocolate cheaper to produce. Is that active still? So chocolate today is said to be the most important antidepressive food. Awesome. Very, very good. Very good. Awesome, guys. I'm gonna have to leave it there. It is now 10 to 1. So thank you very much for joining us today. The history of food and using the passives. Alex, Elvira, Pia, very good work the whole way through. It was really nice to see you. Good to meet you. I hope to see you again soon. I've got some business focuses coming up tomorrow evening. If you're interested in those, that will be with me. But yeah, enjoy your lunch. Speak to you soon. Stay inside. Stay safe. Thank you very much, guys.